The story starts in a high school classroom where 4 students are sitting. 3 of them are busy chatting while one student named Park Han-jun is sitting alone. Someone enters the class and Han-jun looks at him. It is Choi Sejang. He asks others if they are going to refuse to welcome him. Those 3 greet him nicely. The blonde girl asks him if he has sold much of the new chapter. He says of course and shows them the record sale of 48 million won. His friends show excitement over his achievement and ask him for a treat this weekend. Choi Sejang looks at Park Han-jun and says he has something important to do before this. He grabs Han-jun's head and smashes it against the desk. He asks him how he dares to ignore him. He asks if Han-jun has bought the new chapter he has uploaded. While asking this, he keeps beating him. He thinks Han-jun wants his business to flop. Han-jun does not reply and keeps bearing this brutality. Sejang looks at his face and says even an animal would understand what he is saying by now. The blonde girl asks what Sejang will do if Han-jun goes to the teacher and complains about him. Han-jun replies he has given enough money to the teacher to be on their side. He punches Han-jun and says there will be a bloodbath if the teacher acts up. After beating him this much, he looks at Han-jun's face. He gives Sejang a scary look. Sejang asks him if he wants to have a go at him. He keeps irritating Han-jun to make him angry. He tells him that if he reports him, he is confident in seeking damage compensation from him. But he is poor now as he acted cheeky towards Cheon-soo Kim and got his life screwed up. He does not have anything to pay again for compensation. While getting beaten, he thinks about the incident that happened 2 years ago. A high school gang grew up all over the country. They called it Nexus. All the gang members had a ring with an X written on it. Han-jun started a war with their head Kim Chun-soo. Right when he thought he had won the war, Nexus filed a lawsuit against him. Their consistent lies manipulated and fabricated the situation and evidence. Because of that, Han-jun lost the case. And his father's gym, which he gave his whole life, had to be sold to pay for the settlement money. After that, Han-jun promised himself that he would never fight again. He apologized to his father while crying. His father consoled him and said he should not be crying. Han-jun is walking on the street when 3 boys pass nearby him. One of them recognizes him and tells others about him. The buffed one among them acts cheeky and comes near him. He calls him and asks if he recognizes that ring in his hand. After a while, they take him to an empty street in Beaconwell. That buffed guy calls him useless and weak. He wonders how a weakling like him could fight Nexus. He talks badly about his father as well. Hearing this, Han-jun grabs his leg and gives him a scary look. That buffed guy looks shocked. Han-jun apologizes to him immediately for his recent behavior. The buff guy wonders how he could get intimidated by Han-jun when he glared at him. He feels pathetic and picks a stick. He starts beating him with it and asks why he wriggled. That guy breaks any sticks while beating him with them. They leave him there after getting satisfied and walk away. Right then, a well-suited stranger stops by him. He sits near him and asks why Han-jun is bearing all this. Suppose he is afraid that he will have to pay again. He tells him he should leave him half paralyzed for beating him like this. He asks if Han-jun is worried about the money for lawsuits and if he can pay for him. He opens a bag and bundles of notes fall out of it. He tells Han-jun he can get a decent law firm with that much money. But if does not want to file a lawsuit, he can beat them up and use that money to compensate for the damage. He asks how long it will take him to take them down. Han-jun asks him who he is. That guy replies he is someone who wants to beat up Cheon-soo Kim. He says he can tell them the details, but too many people are listening. That buff guy looks at that money and gets amazed. He says he wouldn't have beaten him if Han-jun had already told him he had this much money. Han-jun hits him with his elbow and breaks his jaw. That buff guy falls unconscious and hits the ground. Han-jun says it will take him 4 seconds to beat them. The other 2 get terrified and ask him to stop as they did not beat him earlier. But he beats the crap out of them. He says no one is listening anymore, so that guy should tell him about his motives. He takes him into his office and asks if Han-jun does not watch the news. He opens his profile on his phone and shows it to him. He's Oh Jung-woo, Korea's youngest successful CEO. He says he can use millions of wons to blow his nose. He asks Han-jun if and knows what kind of life Cheon-soo Kim is living. The article's headline about him is a popular student because he lives an upright life and has both exceptional looks and abilities. Oh Jung-woo says this is hilarious. While he is still recruiting people and doing gangster stuff behind the scenes, those ruined by him live like vegetables. It is not hard to bury him in the grave within society, but that is not what Oh Jung-woo wants. He wants to use his methods, filthy, petty, and repulsive methods to screw up both his life and mind. He says he will bear all the expenses for ruining Cheon-soo's life and also the money that Han-jun needs to live his life. Han-jun just has to lend his fist to him in return. Han-jun asks him why he hates Cheon-soo Kim. Oh Jung-woo leans forward and says he will know the reason with time. For now, the important thing is that they have a common enemy. Han-jun enters the class when Sejong asks his classmates to buy his new merchandise online. He is a Nexus member and the class is terrified of him. Han-jun goes near him. Sejong asks him why he is staring at him. Suppose he wants to get beaten again. Han-jun says nothing and punches him in the face. The whole class starts looking at them. Han-jun understood the concept that this world is run by money and power. Sejong remembers being unafraid of anything as no one was stronger than him. But then, he met Han-jun. When he saw him fighting, his whole body screamed that he had no chance against him. It was like he was a different breed. He was a wild beast. But that was only until he met Chien-soo Kim. He screwed Han-jun's life with a lawsuit, took all his money, and brought him to his knees. That's when Sejong realized that the world is ruled by money. Soon he started an online store and forced his classmates to buy his goods. He got rich this way. Han-jun was nothing but a tamed beast. That's how he got back on the top of the food chain. But he wonders why he is getting beaten up now. Han-jun is breaking his bones. Sejong tries to attack back, but Han-jun blocks it. He crushes his foot and breaks his nose with his knee kick. Sejong is wondering what is happening to him all of a sudden. Han-jun is beating him continuously. His friends are terrified seeing him getting beaten like this. The other classmates are happy to see a bully getting bullied by someone. A few are even recording this fight. Sejong feels it humiliating. Han-jun throws him away and he hits the wall. Sejong spits blood on the floor. He asks Han-jun why he is doing this. Han-jun comes close and gazes at him with a scary face. Sejong flinches and asks his friend Joe to help him. Joe looks in that direction. Han-jun passes him an angry look. Joe turns his face away and understands that he cannot do anything. Sejong grins by looking at his useless friend. He brings out his mobile and starts making a video. He warns Han-jun that he has no money left. This time he would not be able to save himself from the lawsuit. Han-jun kicks in his face. The sole of his shoe prints on Sejong's face and his nose bleeds. His face keeps getting hit by kicks. He thinks he might die if he keeps getting hit at this rate, so he runs out of the classroom. Han-jun comes out of the room following him. While running, Sejong tries to calm him down and thinks that Han-jun has not done any fights in the last 2 years, so he will not be able to fight against a gym rat. He enters a room and asks Sung to help him. Sung stops his workout and asks him about what happened to his face. Sejong requests him to save his life. At the same time, Han-jun reaches there. Sejong tells Sung that he will give him 1 million won if he knocks down Han-jun. Sung looks at him and thinks 1 million won is less to beat this beast. He demands 2 million. Sejong agrees. He just wants to save his life right now. Sung goes near Han-jun and says it is not personal but needs money to attend a sports college. Han-jun asks if he wants to go into sports science majors. Sung replies yes. Han-jun gives him money and says he should not be straining his body for this. He asks him to take the money and step off. Sung happily accepts it and says Sejong is all Han-jun's. He throws Sejong out of the class. A teacher passing them sees this and wonders what's happening here. He sees Han-jun coming out of the room and asks what he thinks he is doing in the school. He takes them to his office. He asks Han-jun if he is a street gangster. Why is he beating his classmates so brutally? He reminds him that he gave Han-jun a second chance 2 years ago and saved him from expulsion. But he will not show any mercy this time. Sejong smirks at him, seeing him being scolded by the teacher. Han-jun gets up from his seat and punches Sejong in the face. The teacher is shocked and asks him if he has lost his mind. He grabs him and tries to hold him back. Sejong realizes that it is his end. While Han-jun throws punches at him, a man in a suit enters the room and asks him to stop now. The teacher asks him who he is. Byung-won Kim introduced himself and said he was an associate lawyer at the KR firm. The teacher asks what business he has here. At night, in the office of Jung-woo, Han-jun asks him how he did that. He says his teacher started groveling at him after talking with the lawyer. Sejong got expelled on the spot. Jung-woo says this was very easy for him to do. He tells him that Sejong just paid the price to harass him in the past. The teacher was involved in immoral acts. That lawyer showed him the evidence and his tail was safely tucked between his legs. He says he will not crush that teacher now, as having him on their side is necessary to send Sanjang to juvie. Once his work is over, he will also be sent to jail. Jung-woo says he does not pay his taxes to support teachers like him. He asks Han-jun if he enjoys fighting after a long time. Suppose he is thankful to him for what he did for him today. Han-jun replies he kind of thankful. Jung-woo says there is too much left to be done before he gets thanks from him. At his home, Sejong is angry and throwing his things away. He says he will not go down quietly. He decides to kill Han-jun. The following day, he walks on the road wearing a hoodie and stops in front of a 3-story building. The door opens partially and someone from inside asks him who he is. He tells about him and says he is here to check the progress. The door is opened by a boy who excitedly tells him he has come here at the right time as Jinsong is here. Inside the room, some guys are beating a man. Jinsong Huang, the leader of the runaway boys, asks Sejing to come in. The guy getting beaten up calls Sejing names as he is here because of him. Jinsong hits him in the back and asks him to stay quiet. He orders his boys to remove that man from the scene. He asks Sejing why he is here as he never drops by in person. Sejing replies he is here to make a more extensive request. Jinsong asks how big this is. Sejing says he will pay 10 million won for that. The guy in a red shirt says he does not need to hear more. Just say the name of who is annoying Sejing. Jinsong hits that guy with the bat and asks him to stop acting giddy. He suggests he understands the seriousness of the situation. He says the game must be some real humdinger if the client offers this much. He asks who he is. Sejing says it is Han-jun Park. Jinsong instantly asks him to get out of there after hearing the name of Han-jun. He asks if he looks dumb as ordinary means won't do any harm to Han-jun. Sejing says he is offering 10 million up front. If they succeed, it will be 20 million. Jinsong and his boy are stunned to hear the offer. He laughs and locks the deal. The car stops at the front of an abandoned house in the middle of the city. Jianwu enters the house and wears off his shoes at the doorstep. Walking inside, he loses his tie knot and apologizes for not coming too long. He was swamped. He also has brought fried chicken. He sits on the couch and says chicken these days is so small that one might consider it a sparrow. He is talking to someone and says his dad used to make the best fried chicken in the town. Jianwu says he is craving it right now. They had it last time about 2 years ago. Saying this, he becomes sad. It feels like yesterday to him. Then he gets up and walks out, saying he will be busier again and unable to come soon. The last thing he says before leaving is that the things he has been preparing for are finally coming into shape. When he leaves the house, Byung-won tells him that Sejing is making his move. Should he take care of him? Jianwu says Byung-won knows his style. He never makes things simple and clean. Byung-won grins and says as he wishes. Han-jun's father gets a call from a gym to hire him as a trainer. He is surprised to hear about the salary package as well. After disconnecting the call, he pats his son's head and tells him he has a good job. He wonders how things are getting good all of a sudden. Han-jun stands up and says he is going to hit the gym. His father asks him not to be late as they will eat a nice dinner tonight. When he goes downstairs, he gets a call from Jianwu. He warns him about Sejing's making a move. He tells Han-jun that Sejing has hired some high school runaways as mercenaries. He asks him to call them back if they come looking for Han-jun. He replies that there will be no need for that as those guys are already outside his home. Jinsong smirks and tells Han-jun he is happy to see him. Han-jun looks at him and asks him who he is. Meanwhile, a van comes running towards him. That red shirt guy is moving it forward to hit him. Han-jun glares at him. He starts running towards the van instantly. Everyone looks at him shockingly. Han-jun hits the van with his kicks. That guy gets terrified and turns the wheel towards the left. This makes him roll over the van and he falls behind the van. His head hits the road and starts bleeding. Those runaway boys are glad to see him doing self-harm. Their boss tells them that it is his brilliant move. Han-jun gets up and says he is outraged now. All those boys take their position and get ready to beat him. Jinsong thinks Han-jun must have lain low for a while, but he still got his wits and agility about him. Even so, he just got injured. Suddenly, the people of surrounding buildings wake up hearing the noise of an accident and start watching from their windows. Jinsong orders his boys to get in the van and they leave from there. Han-jun runs after them. Those guys see him coming after them and laugh at his nonsense. But their smile changes into a scream when he catches that van. He jumps over the van and breaks the back glass with his punch. He grabs a guy from his shirt and pulls him out of it. They both fall on the road. A guy asks Jinsong what they should do as their fellow has fallen off. He replies to leave him there and move, so they drive away from there leaving their fellow behind. Han-jun asks him where those men have headed to. That guy says he does not know. He grabs him and beats him well. But that guy says he will not tell him, no matter how much he beats him. Han-jun does not hold back either and throws hits at his face. At their apartment, those runaway guys celebrate their work. Jinsong appreciates his boys for their excellent work. Sejing looks disappointed. He slams the glass at the table. He asks Jinsong why they celebrate when he and his men cannot catch him. He says they all should do the money's worth before reveling. He asks what they will do if Han-jun comes there. All those boys start looking at each other's faces for the answer. Jinsong says he can understand what Sejing is trying to say, but Han-jun must be very smart to find them first. He puts his arm on his shoulder and says such feedback doesn't stoke his zest for work. He grabs his glass and tells him that there is a Korean saying, "You do not use a poultry knife to hunt a boar." He breaks his glass and says they are hunting a tiger now. He brings a piece of that broken glass near his face and says there is no knife to hunt a tiger. But that's how their ancestors hunt the tiger, by unleashing a pack of pungent dogs after him. Tigers are edgy. They love a quiet environment by nature, but dogs torment them for as long as it takes till they die of exhaustion. And he is following the same strategy right now, exhausting him and driving him delirious to his bitter death. Suddenly, something strikes the steel door heavily. All those boys wondered what it was. They think about who can put a dent in their door. A strike's sound increases. Jin-sung asks somebody to go check who is at the door. A guy looks through the door hole and tells others it's Han-jun outside. All of them get shocked to know that. Jin-sung asks them to relax, as even Han-jun cannot break the iron door. He says Han-jun will get tired and go back home eventually. After a while, the sound of the door strike stops. That red-shirt guy says Han-jun must have gone scared to fight all of them and left. But Han-jun climbs the window, breaks the glass, and enters the room. Jin-sung says it is nonsense to climb the 3 floors and break in. Han-jun beats 3 of them well with a rod and his fists. He asks the rest who wants to be the next. Sajin grinned as he knew something terrible was going to happen. Jin-sung does not look terrified. He remembers that they all handled Sun Paik like a cakewalk. They lost 3 pawns, but it might be because they were raided. They must have tactics and moves they have been using. If they bring their A game, they can win against him. Jin-sung orders his boys to raise him down. They all move together to do a group attack. Han-jun dodges the first attack. He makes that guy trip first. Then he grabs him by his leg and smashes him against the wall. A guy is about to attack with a bat from behind. As he swings the bat, Han-jun bends forward to escape his attack. He grabs that guy by his neck and smashes his head on the floor. That red-shirt guy appears behind. Han-jun turns to stop his attack, but the second boy grabs both his arms. He asks his fellow to finish him. He hits his head with the bat and thinks he has got rid of him. Then he gets shocked to see his broken bat. Han-jun gives him a terrified look. He throws him out of the window. That guy falls on the road outside. At the same time, a biker comes there and stops near him. She removes her helmet and looks at him. She goes near him and asks if Han-jun is up there. He thinks she's an angel. He tells her he is up there. He asks her for her number, so she hits him in the head with her helmet. After that, she sits on her bike and calls Junwoo. She tells him about Han-jun and that he is fighting and breaking into a house there. He asks her about the location. She says she cannot decide which designer bag she should buy. She says she is so confused that she cannot tell about his location. Junwoo understands that she is asking for money, so he sends her. She becomes happy and gives him the exact address. It is just Jin-sung and Han-jun left. Jin-sung admits that he cannot beat him. He asks why he has spread him. He thinks Han-jun needs something from him. He asks him to say the name, and that thing will be his possession. In return, he can let him go safely. Han-jun says he is thinking wrong. He grabs him by his neck and lifts him. Jin-sung chalks and beats him unthinkingly with a bat. Han-jun throws him to the ground. He punches in his face. Suddenly, a guy enters through the door and sees all this mess. He grabs Han-jun's arm and asks him to stop destroying his house. He asks why he is fighting in his house instead of on the street. He tells him he is already suffering enough as an orphan. Those gangsters frequent his house as they own it. Now he is running everything here. He cries louder and asks why all this bad is happening to him. Meanwhile, Junwoo enters the house and says destroying it is unnecessary. That kid asks Junwoo if he ordered him to break into his house. Junwoo says he will pay for the damage. That guy asks for 10 million won. But his face beams when Junwoo says he will give him 50 million won. Jin-sung finds his chance until he runs towards the window to escape. He jumps from it, but Han-jun grabs him before he falls. He tells him he is not done with him yet. Jin-sung knows he is dead when he gets pulled up, so he brings a knife from his jacket. He pierces Han-jun's hand with it, so Han-jun leaves his collar and sets him free. Jin-sung smiles, thinking he has saved himself, but then he realizes he is about to fall to the ground. He's got his shoulder injured. He gets up and runs away from there. Junwoo looks at him and says his will to stay alive is strong. One of those runaway guys laughs at them and calls them stupid as they have stepped on a mine. Both of them look at him and think what he is talking about. That guy says Jin-sung's father is the chairman of PJ, the shipping behemoth. He asks if they know how cold-blooded a seaman can get. His father is not just a seaman. He's a mega-rich one who can make them vanish into thin air. Junwoo looks concerned first. Then he smirks and says this can be problematic. Jin-sung enters his house stumbling. His father, Haryeon Hwang, looks at him, grabs him by the shoulders and asks who did this to him. Jin-sung trembles and asks his father if he can barrel 2 guys for him. His father warns him that there is no coming back after that. He replies that he knows that. Haryeon asks him what has motivated him to choose this option. He replies that he let 2 unworthy guys get at him. His father smirks and says his imprudent son finally dares to take revenge. But if he wants this favor from his father, he must ask differently. He lifts his chin and says he should not let his eyes sell him out as pathetic or insincere to his listeners, or they return on their offer. He should focus on what he demands and ask again as his life hangs on it. Jin-song rubs his eyes with his sleeves, looks at his father, and says he will not rest till he sees their dead bodies. Haryong likes his son's courage. He calls someone and tells him they need 2 steel barrels. They are going to teach some adolescent daredevils a lesson. After a while, some cars head towards their location and stop outside a construction building. Haryong and his errand boys get inside the building to beat those 2. Jungwoo calls it interesting to bring a guerrilla troop to a high school feud. He says he does not want an untimely death as he has a different plan for his life. He asks if Miss Hwan cares to know about it and he can tell him. Haryong is shocked to hear this tone. He recognizes that it is Miss Oh and wonders what he is doing here. Suddenly, he gets a call and is informed that all OG affiliates are reaching out to notify cancellation of the shipping deal for next quarter. They are doing this because it is Chairman Oh's order. Haryong is in a blue funk to hear this. Jungwoo looks at him and smirks. Haryong gets on his knees and begs for forgiveness from Jungwoo. His boys ask him what happened to him all of a sudden. He orders them to shut up. Jungwoo smiles and says he is glad to see that he understands quickly. He orders him to send his men away right now. All those cars leave that site. Jungwoo sits on a chair. Haryong is still bowed in front of him. He tells him that this shipping deal means a lot to him. It is the lifeline of his company. His company cannot last a quarter without its partnership with OJ. Jungwoo says he would love to renew the contract, but he takes his public image seriously. A gang boss's father as a partner is not the image OG is trying to cultivate. Haryong says he will send his son abroad for college and never set foot in Korea again. Jin-sung asks why he should leave the country. His dad punches his face and asks him to shut up. Jungwoo laughs at them and tells Haryong to stop. He says that studying abroad sounds more like a treat than a punishment. He has another idea for his discipline, one that might help his vessels set sail. Haryong says whatever it is, consider it done. Jungwoo says his son has cost him 50 million today so he can work off the sum he owes. Haryong says his son has no means to make that much money. Jungwoo says he will work on fishing boats. While sitting in Jungwoo's office, Han-jun says he acts like a villain. Jungwoo smiles and says what they are doing is not clean, so he can call him a villain. He also warns him not to get involved in matters that money can solve. It is pointless to get himself hurt. Jungwoo replies that he did not get hurt. Suddenly, the same writer girl touches his back and says he has a bruise. Jungwoo asks him to say hello to Seo-hyun Choi. He tells him that she will be working with him from now. She is an Instagram celebrity, but she is an informant to them. While sitting beside him, she leans towards Han-jun and says she imagined him to look like a trucker, but he is dapper. Han-jun looks at her and asks if she is serious. Jungwoo interprets them and tells her not to mix business with pleasure. He sits on the sofa and says they must plan for their next move. Seo-hyun says they already have one where Han-jun beats everyone to death. Jungwoo says Nexus has grown exorbitantly. Han-jun alone cannot take all of them down. He says they need to reinforce their combat force. He flops a file on the table and says a guy and Dong and Hai may join them. Han-jun looks at him and asks if he is talking about Dong, Hai, and Kim. Jungwoo replies yes. He is the same guy who fought Nexus with him when no one else did. Former no, one of Dong and Hai, Dong, Hai, and Kim. The war ruined his life and his me. He cannot even run anymore. Jungwoo says that they still need him. Han-jun gives him a speechless look. Jungwoo says it can get uncomfortable, but they must take things professionally. Han-jun can take this chance to make up with him while raising that Nexus-infested school. At Dongyeon High School, the members of Nexus are having a meeting. They are informed that Sejang has been sent to jail. The reason was his history of forcing purchases. Therefore, no more tribute will be coming from Imyeol High School. The other members pass their comments and say he did not know how to play politics. One of them suggests that they should get back at whoever has sent him to jail, as Sejang is still a member of Nexus. The informer tells them that the one who sent him to jail is Han-jun Park. Hearing this name, Jaehyung Min gets shocked. He is the no, one of Dongyeon High School. He asks if Han-jun did not vow to lay low. Suddenly, a gut enters the room, giving them breaking news of Han-jun joining their school. Jaehyung smirks and says that was unexpected. He asks the guy to tell him everything. Han-jun enters the school and says he is here to destroy them all. The teacher welcomes him into the class and introduces him to everyone. He says Hanan can sit in that seat in the back row. All eyes are on him when he walks towards the back row. As he sits there, his benchfellow, Yumin Jo, says he is happy to meet Han-jun in person. He says that everyone talks about not messing with Han-jun, but he wants to fight with him. He asks him not to take the wrong way. He says he moved here last year and has heard tall tales about Han-jun. He just wants to see if they all were not kidding. He asks him for a one-on-one fair and square fight with no backups. Han-jun does not reply to any of his questions. Yumin asks him if he is the kind that needs to be goaded to action. He smacks his head and asks if he looks like a joke. Han-jun hits his face with his elbow and Yumin falls to his back. Everyone in the class turns their faces to him. It's a dynamic batting cage. Seo-Vian is sitting outside the cage using her mobile. She says she is still not sure about recruiting Dong Hai and Kim. There are a load of muscular guys with no injuries out there. So why him? If it is because he is Park's friend or Jung-woo pities him for his knee. Jung-woo replies he is not running a charity. He is inside the net playing with the bat. He says if there is one word that describes Dong-yeon Kim, it is tenacious. Some people fixate on his small build. What they are missing is his unyielding spirit with which he fought Nexus. One thing about unyielding spirits is that they break, failing to bend. She is bored with his wisdom talk and asks why they are recruiting one with a broken knee. Jung-woo replies that when someone breaks, even if he fails to recover his vigor, he will find himself with a new sharp edge. Seo-Vian says Jung-woo should write a book on his wisdom talks. Han-jun walks through the corridor and all boys keep staring at him. He looks at Dong Hai-yeon from the opposite side carrying snacks. A fellow of him kicks in his stomach and he falls to the ground. He grabs him by his hair and asks how a snack bar errand can take more than 5 minutes. He says he put money on him making it, and now he lost that money. He helps his face and asks how he will make up for it. No. Another guy inside the class tells that bully that Dong Hai-yeon is already limping. His daily battering is not making him any faster. He can get crippled just trying to run. How can he think Dong Hai-yeon can do bread shuttling in 5 minutes? That bully hits him again and says he just needs to be more feared of him than getting crippled. Han-jun sees that all but does nothing. Seo-Vian says she has realized that Jung-woo will recruit Dong-yeon, but Han-jun does not touch her as a particularly eloquent one. She says shoving money in his face would be more convenient. Jung-woo replies that it could work if Kim were kind to fall for money. He asked if she knows why he fought Nexus 2 years ago. It is because Han-jun did it. There was no other reason. This notion may touch some as absurd, fighting someone else's war and risking getting maimed. But, according to his research, a friend's war is as good as his war, and a friend taking a hit is him taking a hit. That's the kind of guy he is. Dong Hai-yeon is sitting on the bench on the school ground, flicking his lighter, but it is not working. He throws it away. Han-jun comes there and says it's been a long time since he saw him last. Dong Hai-yeon says he heard the news of his coming here. He asks him if he is here to wreck them. He tells him it is impossible as Nexus has grown much more substantial. They are unmatchable both in headcount and financial firepower. He looks at Han-jun and says they have already lost. Han-jun says this time they will win. While walking away, Dong Hai-yeon tells him they did not fight to lose last time either. It did not stop him from ending up like this. Han-jun turns his head and says he will see them winning this time. Ga-yeon watches them from a window and says Han-jun is stupid for making a tag team with a limper. He orders his boys to get ready to take him down. Dong Hai-yeon is visiting a doctor at night. The doctor appreciates his taking physical therapy seriously, but that's not enough. He tells him that the longer he waits, the less likely a full recovery gets. He suggests he should visit a surgeon immediately. The cost is quite steep, but it is nothing compared to losing his mobility for good. Dong Hai-yeon says nothing and leaves the hospital. It is raining outside. Ga-yeon comes there and asks him what the doctor says. He asks if he is getting better. Dong Hai-yeon asks him what he wants. He replies they were friends once and it hurts to see him like this. Then he says he is just kidding and is here to check how their former one is doing. He comes closer to him and says he has witnessed his secret meetings with Han-jun. He thought he should check if Dong Hai-yeon had recovered because Jaeon would need to break his leg again if he had. Dong Hai-yeon asks why he came here alone. He knows he cannot take him alone if Dong Hai-yeon is recovered. Ga-yeon kicks his leg and makes him fall to the ground. He asks him if Dong Hai-yeon still thinks Ga-yeon is his sidekick. He reminds him of Han-jun kneeling and getting clobbered. He asks if he needs to remind him that he ended up like this due to his sticking to loyalty. Dong Hai-yeon says he remembers and remembers that Jaeon betrayed them and joined Nexus. He recipes that Dong Hai-yeon is making it sound like he is evil. Dong Hai-yeon asks if he is not. Ga-yeon replies that he can think what he wants and be a loyal hero, but he would rather be an evil than a loyal hero limper. This time, he may not be able to be a loyal hero. It is still raining the following day. Han-jun is sitting in the classroom. Ga-yeon makes an announcement. He says all Nexus members in the school have heard that Han-jun Park, who fought Nexus 2 years ago, has transferred to this school and threatened to break them. He asks him if he is ready to get beaten again. He says he knows Han-jun is strong but has never seen him fall in one-on-one combat, but he has no interest in one-on-one combat as he is not stupid. He asks everyone to get in formation and attack Han-jun. But when they all reach there, they see Han-jun has thrown some boys out of the window. Han-jun has already beaten those in his class. He says, let's see who the game is, and starts beating them all alone. Dong Hyeon is still sitting in the classroom. Han-jun is taking down all of those freaks alone. One of them gets terrified and says he will beat all of them. They put him in a lock and beat him together, but Han-jun resists and beats them to free himself. He keeps hitting them mindlessly and moves forward. Soon he gets rid of all those in the corridor, but a whole army of gangsters is waiting for him. One of them asks if he is already tired. Hundreds of them are all over the school ready to beat him. Dong Hyeon hears someone saying that Han-jun is exhausted and they are about to win. He wonders why he is doing this after all that trouble. Seo enters the classroom and asks if he is not enjoying his peace while his friend is out there fighting. Dong Hyeon asks her who she is. She replies that she is Han-jun's co-worker. Dong Hyeon says he cannot fight. She replies that she is not going to make him. She is here to tell him that Han-jun already knew the whole school would charge him. Their boss told him to flee immediately, but he did not listen and said he would fight. He said he needed to prove something to Dong Hyeon. Dong Hyeon remembers that Han-jun said they would win this time. Han-jun has defeated all those gangsters. Gyeong-kil walks down the stairs and claps. He says Han-jun never disappoint, but now they are going to give him a hell of a time. They charge at him. Dong Hyeon comes there and attacks one of them with a wiper stick. He asks him why he wants to do all the cool things alone. Gyeong-kil says it is good that he showed up as well. Now they will take both of them down. They run to attack him. Dong Hyeon breaks the stick into two and gets ready for the fight. One guy asks if he is trying to look cool by doing such poses. He punches Dong Hyeon but blocks it with one stick and hits him with the other. Another guy grips him and pushes him back. He hits his back with his head and frees himself. He keeps beating those boys with sticks. On the other hand, Han-jun is giving them a tough time with his fists. Both have trapped those boys in center and beaten them one by one. Those boys cannot believe that one person with a disability and one exhausted are defeating them so severely. They wonder why they are so strong. Dong Hyeon tells Han-jun that he is sorry. He has been resenting him like hell for what he has become. But deep down, he knew it was not his fault. He says he just needed someone to blame. Han-jun is happy to see that his friend is back. Suddenly, Gyeong-kil jumps on them to crush them. He says he can do them this favor if they wish to die. Dong Hyeon says he will handle him. They both slide away and prevent the attack. They run towards the door. Gyeong-kil runs after them and asks if this is their best move. Han-jun grabs him from the shirt and throws him on the floor. He gets up and sees Dong Hyeon locking the door so he cannot escape. Han-jun asks him to give him 1 minute. Dong Hyeon says he won't take long to beat Gyeong-kil to death. Gyeong-kil says they just made another stupid choice. Dong Hyeon says it could look that way when one has no friends. He calls him pathetic. This makes Gyeong-kil furious, and he moves forward to punch him. Dong Hyeon stabs his hand with the stick. He beats him well with that stick. Gyeong-kil grabs him from his waist, lifts him, and throws him to the glass door so hard that it breaks. He laughs at him and says he has no weapon to fight with now. Dong Hyeon takes off his shirt and wraps it around his arm. Gyeong-kil asks if this is a joke. Dong throws that shirt on his face and pulls him so that he falls on the floor. He throws punches at him. Gyeong-kil pulls his leg so Dong loses his balance. Then he locks his leg to prevent him from escaping. He tells him neither of them is the guy they used to be. Then he hits his broken leg so hard that Dong Hyeon starts screaming due to pain. Gyeong-kil sits aside and pants while Dong Hyeon holds his injured knee on the ground.